Well. It's 2025 and I'm very excited that 6 days into the year 2025 I find myself into the comfort of your room. Yeah, it's like it has never happened. I've been away for a very long time, but well, God is gracious and we are here together on Hope Live. I'm very excited. My name is Sinkozi, your host on this program. When he is not here with me, and probably like I was out for a long time, I've sent him into, a sabbatical leave, that I sit here all by myself and see how we are going to make this start of 2025 something meaningful on this particular program. And a lot has happened since towards the end of 2024 and the very start of the year 2024. For those of us that are following current affairs, there is a funeral that has made too much noise on social platforms because of how it has been handled. But we thank God that today the gentleman will be put to rest. Activities are happening at the showgrounds. It should have actually happened from as early as 9, from as early as 8:30, but due to certain circumstances, the event is dragging. But the last time I checked before coming on set, we did see a number of government officials as well as other musicians trooping to the showgrounds to just witness what is happening as they send off one musician in the name of Dandy Crazy. That's the stage name that we all know him by. But we are not here to talk about that, but we sympathize with the family on the loss of the musician and others that perished on this spot, the particular accident that led to his, finally, his death. But then also, there are quite a number of things that were happening. The president of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, made a historical Sabbath worship at Njanji Seventh-day Adventist Church. We carried that live as Hope Channel Zambia, and well, for the very first time, I saw something very exciting, and that's about Pastor George Mwansa, the presiding pastor for Njanji Seventh-day Adventist Church, who, against all protocols, just decided to re-invite the president to the stage to come and sing a particular song. Well, we might not have time to play that particular happening, but that was so profound of Pastor George Mwansa, because he had plans on how things should move at his congregation, but there were these dignitaries coming from the conference, actually starting from the division. Dr. Akomba was in attendance. We also had Dr. Munyumbe, who was the preacher of the day from the union, Dr. Daniel Chunga, Pastor Mansa coming in there after the whole lot of these dignitaries, but he had to push his way through until what he had planned for his church had to happen. And I respected him for that, because well, a plan is a plan. Talking of which, we are talking about goal setting today, and I'm very excited that we are going to that direction. But also, there is something that happened towards the end of the year 2024, where a group from Lusaka was to sing on the Copper Belt in Kitwe, to be specific, but that event could not take place. And the reason was because of certain procedures. There are so many misgivings about this whole thing. We will be talking, not today, though, but on this very program or platform, to the Copper Belt Conference Music team, who will give us more light on how they expect things to move when you are to hold a musical concert and all that. But talking of the procedure, I have seen that sometimes there are certain things that we do based on procedure that others are not going to accept, but in the end, they'll serve as a precedence, and it will help you run things as they should be. Then something happened over the weekend, which also I promise that this platform is going to bring to the fore, is a church known as the Lion of Judah, through its pastor, a female pastor that is, who just woke up and told her members to say, from today onwards, we will not be holding our meetings, our worship meetings on a Sunday, because I have now come to know through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit that actually we need to worship on Saturday, which is the Sabbath. And as of last Sabbath, from Sunday, they are worshiping on Saturday. Isn't that good? Now, that will be coming also as we move along on this program, because she will be part of us on Hope Live. But today, I am joined in the studio by Dr. Daniel Kabani. Now, I'll tell you this, that he is a history maker, because he was our very first guest on Hope Live. And guess what? He is our very first guest in the year 2025. Doc, there is something about you that I need to know. You seem to be setting standards, paces, and good fortunes for the program. Happy New Year, and welcome to Hope Live, the second time.
Thank
the first
you.
time this year, the first time when the program was launched.
Thank you so much, my pastor. That's a good surprise for me, and I'm actually very happy. You know, I forgot that, yes, I was invited as the first guest. And this year we are doing this the very first time of the year.
Yeah.
But it's always a blessing to be with you, my pastor, and your team. I think you are doing a lot of great work. There's a lot of great feedback from people watching your programs that are learning, lives that are being changed. And I'm just happy that in the very first week of the year,
The first
we
week.
can, yes, we can meet and have discussions on how we can make our lives work.
Yeah, nice. How have you been? And how is DNK?
DNK is okay. We are very fine. We are super excited about 2025. We normally go in a planning season end of year. So the last 2 weeks of every year, the last month, December for us is planning. So it's busy because it's planning and work. Then the last 2 weeks we go on industrial break, but for senior management, there is no break.
There is no break.
We sit to plan. So when it's January, we are excited because we are rolling out the plans and seeing how things are going. So it's going on well so far.
All right. And talking about
Yes.
plannings, we've invited you to discuss setting goals and resolutions.
Yes.
So we are fitting into what you were doing. But today we want to delve into how we find strategies for setting achievable goals and how to maintain these goals for the year, throughout the year.
Yes.
Because we have seen, Doc, and maybe you will agree with me that a number of us, and I'm glad that DNK is planning in December,
Yes.
while most of us are planning in January. But nonetheless, planning is planning.
It's
Whether
planning,
you plan in
yes.
January or you plan in December,
That's
it
true.
is planning. But then, here is our problem. We plan in January, we plan in December. By February, we seem to live as though we never planned anything. And this is the reason why today we thought we should have you. And by the way, we'll not only have you today, we'll have you on Wednesday as well as Friday for a reason, so that
Yes,
we shape up what is coming for the rest of this year. And if we can remain motivated, but obviously we'll also talk and dig about the plans that DNK is doing. I saw a poster, very excited about it as an individual, having experienced the previous one. The next, we will probably not talk about today, but maybe on Wednesday or Friday when we are a bit relaxed.
Yeah.
That clearly shows how you announce something that is coming 10 months ahead of time. When for some of us, we only announce what we are going to do tomorrow, today. And that clearly shows that you have every reason to be here this week.
I'm humbled, my pastor.
Yeah.
I was having an interesting conversation because one institution reached out to say, oh, we want to invite you in July for these dates. So my PA told them, say, no, he can't be available for those dates. They're already booked.
July?
Yes.
7 months ahead of time?
Yeah, so they said, but it's July. I said, no, we actually planned our year that way. So, well, at a personal level, I always feel that 70% of your effectiveness is in your planning.
Well, let's get into what we are here for. And the very onset of our discussion is leading us to really looking at setting achievable goals.
Yes.
But even before we ask about setting achievable goals, let's talk about having a goal
Having
in
a goal,
life.
exactly.
How important is this aspect for a human being, one living today, eating shima every day? How is it important for me, or why is it important for me to set a goal? Without even talking about them being achievable or not.
Yes. It is because when you do not have goals, then your resources are not pulled in one direction. That means you spread yourself thin because there is no one thing you are focusing on. And when you spread yourself thin, now resources are different.
Okay.
We can talk about time. By the way, for anybody to achieve anything, you need to dedicate time to it.
Right.
When you don't have a goal, you spread your time thin. And therefore effectiveness is reduced, productivity is reduced, and the outcome definitely will reflect in what went in. Your resources can be money. When you don't have a goal, your money is spread thin. Today you are spending more on food, tomorrow you are spending at a movie, the other day you are spending. Actually, just looking at the expenditure of somebody, you can tell whether they have goals in life or they don't. You don't need to tell me your goals. Just show me your budget. Maybe not even your budget,
even have a budget.
because a budget might be a goal.
Yeah.
Just show me your expenditure. How have you spent your money in a month? I'll know whether you have a goal or you don't. So when you don't have a goal, you spread your money thin and you achieve very little. You spread your presence very thin. You are almost in everything. We'll find you this side, we'll find you that side, and you achieve very little. So goals help us to focus our resources. And results only come out from areas where resources were focused. That is why goals are very important.
Like I did indicate, really, we find ourselves in situations where we are planning for the year ahead, and over time we are worn out. Whatever it was only by the grace of God that we are pulling through to the other year. But it has been the trend year in, year out, and we are living like that. For some people, they will tell you that actually the autopilot kind of life that I'm leading is working out for me, because there are certain things that I don't even plan, but eventually I find myself into them, and they work out. Now you are saying, if you don't set a plan, you find yourself all over. For some people, finding themselves all over is actually working for them to their advantage. How can we strike the balance, really? If somebody will tell you that, for me, it has worked even without setting a plan. So, to hell with making a goal.
That's true, my pastor. I'll take you to one of my probably lines of expertise, and that is health. Medicines in particular. In drug development, there are different ways in which drugs are discovered. There is one of the different ways in which drugs are discovered by accident. We call it serendipity. So serendipity is achieving something great by accident. Guess what? Of all the drugs that are on the market, only less than 4% are discovered by serendipity. So if you are gambling your life in winning by serendipity, you are working with a 4% chance of success in your life, and I don't think that's wisdom. To go around your life gambling that you are going to end up in a 4% that make it by chance. And moreover, I should mention that even the drugs that are discovered by serendipity, they are discovered by people who have been planning. And along their path of plan, something by chance happens. It is not just from the beginning, you don't even know what a drug looks like, the chemistry, and you end up discovering. Now, I should mention that there are people who don't plan their lives. Some even go to and say, no, I mean, God is in charge of everything. Why should I plan? God himself is a planning God.
He is.
When you go through his word, it is prophecy and prophecy fulfilled. Prophecy predicts and then it is fulfilled. It shows the planning that God has. Actually, when you read the Bible, every major thing, the Bible says, in the fulfillment of time. The fulfillment of time means there was a plan, and the plan has been fulfilled. So our God is not a serendipitous God. He is a planning God.
Yeah.
And he expects his children to plan. Jesus Christ himself asked them, who of you would begin building without a plan?
Right.
Lest you fail along the way and people laugh at you to say, look, he started, but he failed to do what? To finish. That is Jesus Christ speaking to the issue of planning. I should mention that you cannot usher yourself into success by accident. While you can fail by accident, you can't succeed by accident. It rarely happens. Close to zero. So it is very important that actually every person embraces a mindset of planning. Not only a mindset, but develops the skills of planning, because planning is a skill. And it requires one to have a certain way of thinking and mental tools to actually be able to plan.
Right. I'm loving the fact that you are saying it really has to be something that is coming as part of your life. Because you will not just wake up today and say, it's a Monday, yeah? So Monday, I don't love Mondays, but anyway, I'm going to go about and see what will happen. And what you said about being available, the term you're using is spreading yourself thin. Whoever is going to come,
you join the program.
Daniel,
escort me to town.
Escort me to town.
You are in town. And fulfilling other people's plans. and my pastor, I should mention that when you do not have a plan, you will participate in achieving other people's plans. I should mention that this world in which we live is much of a capitalist world, especially even the area in which we live here in Zambia.
Okay.
When you do not have your own personal plans, you'll be used as a means to other people's plans. That is very important. And I should also mention that for those that normally say, well, I don't plan, but I'm achieving. I'm here to announce to you that you're achieving less than you could have achieved had you been planning.
That's true.
So sometimes you can be impressed with your performance for the simple reason that you are operating at 30% in an environment of people that are operating at 2%, and you become the excellent of the mediocre. And therefore you begin to think that, well, things are happening. But if you started planning and got into a space of people that are planning, you begin to realize that you can always do more than you are currently doing if you are planning.
And even move away from that area.
Yes. Yeah. You know, my pastor, if you go to companies, every serious company has a strategic plan.
Yes.
Every serious country has a national development plan. Zambia has the 8th national development plan, which outlines what must be done. Right. If you work in an organization that has no strategic plan, it simply means that you are working in a ramshackle of an institution. Any institution that is serious has a plan. God has a redemption plan. So when you begin to live your life without a plan, without goals, without performance indicators, you are operating at a very low level of human actualization.
Let me take you through this really by asking the question that what's the importance then of setting goals and how can it impact one's life as well as productivity?
Yes. So the importance is that, number one, it brings about concentration.
Okay.
Yes. You can't achieve anything without concentration. You need to focus on it. One writer indicates that for you to become an expert and find yourself in the top 2% of any industry you are in, you need to have spent not less than 7,000 hours at your trade. When you look at Messi, he has spent over 7,000 hours at what he does. Get a top speaker, he has spent over 7,000 hours at what they do. In other words, they are focused and they concentrate. Why? They have set a goal. Number two, setting a goal allows you not to waste your resources. Okay? There are people that think they are generous. No, they are not generous. They just don't have goals. And there are people we think are stingy. No, they are not stingy.
Yeah.
They just have goals.
They have goals.
So when they receive their money, the money is planned. They know where it must go. So when you come and say, I'm asking for money, they really look at the money they have, but that money is not for giving. That money has specific projects it should go to.
On that one, we've always had this mentality where Dr. Daniel Kabani is running a group of companies, not just one. There are many companies. So it's obvious he has money. And then quickly, as young people, we will be going out for such a program. And so Dr. Kabani, we are asking for a contribution. And then Dr. Kabani says, well, I wish I could. But unfortunately, I've run dry. But this man has money. Where is the problem? And so we realize that it's because Dr. Kabani has planned. But then, let's talk about the common mistakes that we make, because I did mention we plan at the start of the year. Along the way, things fall apart. We are no longer talking about what we planned. But what are some of the common mistakes that we have made as people in setting goals, and how can we avoid these mistakes?
That's a very great question, my pastor. Number one is setting goals that don't fit in a mother frame. The mother frame of setting goals is your life purpose. Purpose is what will give you enough drive, because achieving goals is not easy. When the going gets tough, what will make you to continue going and chasing those goals is the purpose, because the purpose is the end goal of all the goals. So setting up goals that don't have a purpose, because sometimes I've seen people that are setting goals that are totally in two different directions. Let me give you an example. You decide and say, this year one of my goals is to look good. It's a very good goal. To look good, I'll put on the best of suits and attires. I want to look good. That's one goal. On the other side, you are setting a goal that says, this day I want to be financially prudent. Those two goals are antagonistic. Because changing your wardrobe is not financial prudence. It is expenditure. So on one side you are setting a goal that is expending. On the other side you are setting a goal that is conserving. By the end of the year you realize you have achieved nothing. It is because you had two opposing goals. Why? These goals have not been set in a final framework of the purpose. That is one of the common mistakes. Number two, it is setting goals that don't speak to your values. Every person has got values. Values are guiding principles. Whenever you set goals that don't speak to your values, your actions will always be antagonistic to your conscience. There are people that have set a goal and said, this year I'm making money at all costs. That's a goal. Money at all costs. So you begin to find yourself in shady deals, and yet at the same time you have a value of honesty that you have been raised with. You are a church person, so at any given time you are not fully in the deals, you are not fully in the church, because your conscience is fighting your goals.
Double standards.
So setting goals that don't speak to your values. Number three, it is setting goals that you are not competent for.
Wow.
Every goal is achieved by competence. And I've seen people that have set goals. I can see a young man who says, this year I should wind it up with 100,000 kwacha in my account. Now this is a young man who winded last year with a negative 15,000 kwacha in his account, because he's owing people. That in itself is a symptom of a financial disease. That needs to be diagnosed, treated. The next step he should do, that goal is away from his competence. The first thing you should work with for now is I'm setting a goal this year to end a year at zero, not owing anyone, out of debt. The first skills, you can't get into knowing skills of how to make money and preserve money, save money, before you develop the skills of how not to get into debt. So there are people who have set goals that they don't have the competences and skills for. And, well, you can still work with the reverse of setting a goal without the competences. But if you set a goal you don't have competence for, your first action must be to acquire the skills, the knowledge, the competence that make that goal attainable. Almost every goal and any goal in this life is attainable. This year, my pastor will tell you that there's somebody who has set a goal to make a $10 million by the end of this year. And that person will make it. That's a very small goal for Dangote. That's a very small goal for Elon Musk. But that goal might be unattainable for some of us. What is the difference? We do not have the skills, the competence that speaks to that. Number 4, it is setting, I don't know whether it's number 4 or number 5 now.
Number 4, yeah.
It is setting goals against a backdrop of a social environment that does not support the attainability of that goal.
Yeah.
So there are people who set goals that are outside their social grouping. You are setting goals for winners hanging around the losers. It is unattainable.
I hear you.
Yes. So you say, well, this year one of my goals is that I want to write my GCE. But in your whole circle there is no one writing, and yet all of them have 9s. I can tell you that by the end of December, we'll find you planning again to write the next year. You do not have a social support system that speaks to the goals that you want to attain. Those are some of the common mistakes.
Yeah, and that really speaks to the real life issues. Most of the times, especially on the issue of competence. I've personally encountered people who are telling me, I need a job. And then, what have you done? Then someone says, hey, no.
I can do anything.
And then you ask somebody, if you can do anything, can you try this? And then they'll tell you, that one. No. The question is, then what are you?
What can you do?
That's the thing. But then as we move on, there are certain goals that we have set in life that sometimes are not specific, that sometimes we cannot even measure them.
Yes.
And we don't even know if we can achieve them. We don't even know whether they are relevant or not. And also, the time frame by which you can achieve them. So I want you really, Doc, to help us share maybe a simple framework or template that we can use to really, reach to a point where we are going to set goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, that's great. As you have already highlighted, my pastor, the common framework actually in goal setting is the acronym SMART. Yes? If you want your goals to be achievable, use the acronym SMART, which is S, that they must be specific. Don't be a generalist in life.
True.
About anything you do, even your job. The lowest people that are paid in any institution are general workers.
General workers.
So whatsoever you do, don't be general. The only place where a general is paid more is in the army.
But it's not a general worker.
But it's not a general worker.
There is a difference.
There's a difference. So don't be general about your life, because when you are general, you are in high supply, which means your demand is low. Which means the premium you can set on yourself is very low. It is those that are specific in life, who we call experts. Be an expert at something. Then your value goes up. You become few, the demand becomes high, you can put a premium on yourself. It goes to the goals. Goals are rarely achieved when they are general. So then just say, in 2025, I want to be spiritually sound. What does that mean?
And we'll hear a lot of those. The 10 days of prayer is coming.
Yes.
And we receive a lot of those. This year I want. And then you check, this one is the one who sent even last year.
This year I want to be very spiritual. That is not specific. Let's look about the same spiritual sector. You say, this year I want to improve my spiritual life by 1, having a morning devotion every day. That is specific, that is measurable. That very goal. You say, by reading my Bible at least 1 verse every day at 17 hours. It is specific, it is measurable.
And achievable.
If you are in business, don't say, this year we want to make exponential profits. What are exponential profits? And you know, people love these big terms that sound scary and very nice. You make it very specific and say, this year we want to grow our profits by a 20%. That's measurable because you know the number for last year. So make your goals very specific, make your goals measurable. Let them be quantitative, either by time, by magnitude, by numbers, stating clearly when they will be done. So they must be measurable. They must be achievable.
Amen.
So achievable means begin with what is close by, what you can do within your circle, then expand. I've always mentioned about this, that I meet young people sometimes with very weird dreams. I'll meet a young person who today is not making a one kwacha. I say, what do you want to do with your life? He says, my plan is that by next year, I should be in gas. I want to be bringing, petrol. Sir, where can you bring petrol? Today you're not making a one kwacha. Some of them will tell you, no, I want to be bringing, equipment and gadgets from Dubai. Sir, do you have a passport? No. Do you know the direction of Dubai? No. Currently, what is your income? Zero. Those are goals that are meant to appease and impress people. They are unattainable. And every young person, every young person or every person that hopes to achieve, you need to quickly come out of a zone of trying to impress people by mentioning big things and scary things, and be realistic by mentioning things that are achievable. So you can begin by saying, this year, I want to register my business and ensure that by December, this business has built up. I have some little money up to a 15,000 kwacha, up to a 20,000 kwacha. Those are numbers that are reasonable for somebody who is starting. Maybe up to a 50,000. But we meet you in first year, and you are saying by December, I want to close the year with a 200,000 kwacha in my account. That may not be achievable. So they must be achievable and, like you said, realistic, and always put a time factor. Any plans that don't have time to them are mere hallucinations. It is mere daydreaming. And in anything, this goes across things. For the young ladies, don't get in a relationship that does not have a time factor.
Now you are touching something.
Yes. That is how people end up in a wilderness experience. 40 years moving to and fro until you are told that you can't enter Canaan.
No, you can't.
Yes, there was no time. In the very first weeks of a young man proposing to you, you should ask him, sir, what are your plans for this relationship? If he has got no plans, disappear out of that relationship faster than you went in.
But it could be the other way around, that ladies really don't have a reason, don't have a plan for getting into a relationship.
That's true,
and the problem is, I might be digressing here, but the problem is that majority of them are looking at the financial gains that they'll get from a relationship. And so for them, they're looking at Dr. Kabani. Oh, he has money, so I am going to feed off from Dr. Kabani. And so however long this is going to drag, I don't care.
mind.
Yeah, and we have seen a number of them actually getting into relationships with people that are already committed elsewhere. Somebody is married and you are getting into a relationship as a young lady. What are you looking for? So it means you don't have a plan for yourself. Well, it's Hope Live, and today we are discussing really setting goals. We're talking about goals that are going to be achievable at the end of the day, but also how to let these goals thrive throughout the year. And we are talking about 2025. I've heard people, and maybe I have also said that at one point, I say, this year is my year.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the year, I'm looking back and I'm asking, what has gone wrong with my year? Okay, the next year is going to be mine. But then how can we maintain the motivation? But even before we talk about the motivation, really, what role does accountability play in achieving goals? And also, how can one find an accountability partner or system? Now, this one I'm asking you because I know you're an expert in this.
Sure. Thank you, my pastor. And when it comes to accountability, I should mention that this is what makes even African countries to fail. There's no accountability.
Okay.
Here in Africa, accountability is seen as disrespect. You can't ask your parents where the money has gone. Say, you.
It's painful.
You can ask us.
Hey, who are you?
From when we raised you from 0 years, did you even know where the
Were
money
you
came
there?
from? Were you there? So the concept of accountability is often not welcome. I think you have seen this even in our local churches. When you begin to ask the guys in treasury where the money is going, people get annoyed. They begin to say, are you suspecting that I'm stealing church money? No, sir. We just want to know where the money is going. What is it being used for? So accountability, you see, from a business standpoint, one of the things we teach people from the consultant side, those who are running product-based businesses, is inventory management. And I'll tell you that most businesses here in Zambia run without inventory management systems and procedures. An average shop, walk into a shop today, ask them, how many bottles of cooking oil do you have? I can tell you that in every 50 businesses, only one person will tell you that we have 4. Ask them, how many boxes of boom do you have? They do not know. We only know when we have a stock out. And that is why you will realize that even when you are dealing with small and medium enterprises, especially African indigenous businesses owned by us as Africans, you go there, you'll be told, oh, we don't have this, it has run out. We don't have this, it has run out. Go in these chain stores, which are multinationals, they rarely have stockouts. They have systems for accountability. As a person, if you are going to go far, be accountable. Bring people that you can always account to. And that is why the quality of your social circle determines how far you go. I belong to a circle of friends where we hold each other accountable. Before coming here, early this morning, I received a call from my good friend and elder brother, Dr. Siatwambo. We talked for some time for some programs we want to do this year. And that call was purely an accountability call for him to check on what we agreed on last year. For me also to ask questions on certain things. So when you have a circle of friends that hold you accountable, you will always move checking whether you are moving in line with your goals. Don't move around and be the only person who knows your goals in your head. That's one of the first ways that people fail to achieve anything. Somebody asks you, no, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. No, sir, you don't know what you are doing. A person who has plans must share with those closest. And who are these people? Your wife can be your accountability partner.
Right.
Tell your wife your dreams and your goals. Your sibling can be. A best friend can be. Sometimes your boss at work, if you have a relationship with them, tell them, this is what I want to do with my life. They'll continue checking. And you know, it's not really actually sometimes where they sit you down asking questions. They just go like, how is that master's going? Why? You had told him you'd be going for a master's. Then it rings, So that's very important.
I didn't even apply. but let's talk motivation really, Doc. I've emphasized here to say we start, but along the way things fall apart. What are some of the strategies for maintaining the motivation and momentum throughout the year, especially when faced with the setbacks or challenges? I'm bringing in the issue of setbacks and challenges, knowing that but there are a number of things that happen along the way. For example, who knew in 2020 that we were going to be hit seriously by COVID? People had planned, but COVID came. I'll tell you that when COVID came, those who had planned suffered serious setbacks. Those who did not plan found a way of hiding themselves. COVID inali so. But how can we stay focused regardless of the challenges and situations that will come our way?
Okay. Motivation. Now, you know, my pastors, some people think motivation is not important in life.
I've heard a number of them.
I hear a lot of those, but you know, when I listen to them, I see that it's a case of oftentimes being misinformed, mixed a little bit with ignorance. Human behavior is propelled by motivation, even eating. That's why Professor Maslow wrote the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. All of it is just a theory that is trying to explain human motivation, why human beings do what they do. So motivation, behind motivation primarily is the question of why. When the why is weak, the actions, the input The why must be strong. For example, why do you want to make money?
Okay.
If the answer to that is weak, we'll see the amount of aggression you're putting in. Now I'll tell you, my pastor, why do I work very hard as an entrepreneur? My why is strong. I hate poverty. Why do I hate poverty? I know poverty.
Okay.
I've tested it. I've tested its pain. I've tested its embarrassment. I've tested how people segregate you when you are poor. My family, my parents worked very hard to pull themselves and us, their children, out of poverty, create a platform that could propel us to a certain extent. So we are a family that moved out of poverty into, I would say, comfort.
Comfortable, yeah.
Because my pastor, is not a secret for me. I was raised in a place, in our mission, you know one of our mission posts called Stott.
Stott, yes.
That's where I was raised from 0 to about 8 years. And that was in a rural place.
Yeah.
I know how hard it was even to just find food in such places. We used to go, because there's no market, to go and batter, you know, mealie meal with relish. My older uncles used to pound, mom and dad pound like this. So I know the kind of life you have when you are not very well accomplished. The why is strong. This is what drives me. I was telling somebody, one time somebody asked me to say, why are you, what makes you awake in the night? Why do you fail to sleep? I said, my dreams make me fail to sleep.
Yeah.
So as an individual, look for a strong why to everything. That's why I tell you, even young people, until you find a strong why to you getting married, don't get married. The challenges we are seeing in marriage are people who came in marriage without a why. There is a saying that says, he that knows why can bear anyhow. When you know why you are in school and your why is strong, it will be seen in how you are studying. It will be seen. You will not need external motivation. The why itself is a strong motivation.
It's personal motivation.
So that is the first thing. It must be intrinsic motivation that is derived. Set your goals around areas where the why is strong. And you will feel motivation from inside. But how do you keep the motivation? You also keep the motivation by what you consume. And when I say what you consume, what you are mentally consuming. There are people that are always consuming depressive information. You are unemployed and you join a circle of unemployed people.
Yeah.
When you talk about how life is hard, they also bring out their visions. It becomes a competition of tough life.
Yeah.
You can't achieve much. So come out of circles that are circulating depressive, pessimistic information. Get in circles of individuals that are highly motivated,
Right.
that are optimistic. These people, especially high achievers, every high achiever has got a bag full of stories of challenges he faced and how he overcame them. As the Bible says, there's nothing new that will ever happen to you. So when you are in that circle and you come in there and you are getting depressed because your goal was a successful business by the end of the year and your business is going down, the guys tell you that, don't worry, my friend, what you are going through is what I went through in 2021. What I did is this and this and this. Call this person, that person, sell this, do this.
Yeah.
And then you move forward. So choose what you are consuming carefully on TV, what you are reading, the people you are listening to. And there's one thing I should not forget today. Have your goals written and put somewhere.
Wow.
That is very important. Why? Anything that we only hear but do not write, we remember it, but the memory storage is weak.
It is.
What we write, we rarely forget, because when you are writing things, you are using what we call the psychomotor system, which is you are using your muscles and your brain. The memories that are created in that way are stronger. Write your goals. They should not be too much. Between 5 to 10 goals for the year. Put them even where you can read them, either in your diary or in your bedroom. As you wake up, be looking and meditating on these things. It will shock you what you can do.
Well, that is motivation enough, unless you really don't know what you're supposed to do. But here is a thing.
Yes, Pastor.
Our goals are usually enormous. They're huge goals. You're giving examples of somebody who says, I want to make 1 million kwacha at the end of this year, when somebody is at 0. And we get frustrated over time, because you realize that that is too much and you're not even there. But can I ask whether, Doc, it's important to celebrate your small wins along the way, as you are aiming for the big thing? Yeah.
Maybe in goal setting, I should mention this. Some of the things we help companies with is to actually design what are called strategic plans, which I already talked about.
Yes.
Any serious company has a strategic plan.
Okay.
As a family, my wife and I have a strategic plan. We actually have a 20 years strategic plan that is running from 2024 to 2044. That strategic plan then has what are called yearly implementation plans.
Okay.
So in strategic goal setting, what you do is this, which every individual must do. You must have a personal strategic plan. You set long-term goals, mid-term goals, short-term goals. Long-term goals are any goal that is beyond 10 years. 10 years plus long-term. These ones can be broad and almost general. To say, I want to be rich by 20, whatever, that broad. But you become more specific as the years reduce. Mid-term goals should run between 5 to 10 years. Then you set your short-term goals, which should happen in the 5 years. And in these 5 years, you must have an implementation or action plan for every year. That action plan for every year should show what you are doing in January, in February, in March, up to December. These are small tasks that are speaking to the year goal. And the yearly goals will speak to the 5 years plan. The 5 plus 5 plus the other 5 will speak to the long-term plan of where you find yourself. So those short-term goals now that you are doing within the year, you need to win them. By the way, for those that have debt, because a goal for some of the people who are listening now could be to resolve their debt. There's what is called the snowball model of solving debt. It has been seen that if you have got, by many debt experts, that if you have got a debt of 50,000, 40,000, 20,000, 10,000, 5 and 1,000. 2 people have this. One of them decides that I am going to solve my 1,000 debt first. The other one decides that I'm going to solve my 50,000, then come to the 40, then come to the 1. What has been observed is, meet these guys after 2-3 years. The guy who started with 1,000 is out of debt. The guy who started with 50,000 is in more debt. It's called the snowball principle in handling debt. Why is that important? When you begin by settling the small debt over 1,000 and you knock it out, 2 things happen. Firstly, it gives you a hype to feel that, oh, okay, so I can. I've knocked out one guy.
That's motivation.
That's motivation. So it motivates you, and also you feel that, oh, now I have some extra cash because I'm no longer servicing this guy. Let's go for the 5,000.
Yeah.
And you are aiming for what is attainable. So 6 months down the line, you have knocked off the guy with the 5,000. It gives you more motivation because you now know you have knocked out 2 guys. So these 2 guys, what will kill the other guy is this. For the guy who started with a small one, 1 year down the line, he has knocked out the guy with the 1,000, the guy with the 5, and the guy with the 10.
Right.
So he's saying, now I only have 2 people I owe, the guy with the 40 and the 50. 1 year down the line, the guy who is trying to sort out the 50 has not finished paying 1 person.
Yeah.
And is still being troubled by how many people? By 4 people. And I tell people that the challenge of debt is this. Whether you owe somebody 1,000 kwacha or you owe them 30,000 kwacha, the pressure they give you is the same. So this guy is receiving pressure multiplied by 4. That's what will kill him. While the other guy has knocked out this. So learn to celebrate the small wins. And that's why I normally tell people, As you have the big goals, begin with the small attainable wins and celebrate them for motivation.
So it's not the whole chunk at the end of the day. So you will not kill yourself and then say, but it looks impossible. By the time I reach December, this dream cannot be achieved. We dream, but this one. So then you start to, let me just live. After all, we live by the grace, and Christ will be coming soon. Then you close the chapter. Doc, in the interest of time, let me drag you to something pretty quick.
Okay,
as we look at all these things, setting goals very important and all that. But then we also know that there are obstacles that come along. I did ask about that. But then how can we overcome the obstacles and stay on track? Challenges will always be there, that's true. Whether we like it or not, in this side of eternity, we always have challenges. But the question is, what should we do for us to stay within what we have been planning, irregardless of what we meet along the way?
Number one, avoid the temptation of good things that were not planned for.
Break it down.
Yes. It is not only bad things that derail us along the path of self-actualization, along the path of your dreams. There are many people whose lives have been messed by good things that were not part of the plan. You planned to go back to school for your degree. Along the path, you meet your friend discussing over lunch after church. He tells you of how he has bought a plot. He has been planning for that for years. You didn't plan to build now, but planned to go to school now, decides to get the money and go and buy a plot. Now the plot you are buying is a good thing at a wrong time because you have not planned for it. 4 years down the line, because you didn't count the cost of building, you have not finished
now
building.
The strategy of Jesus is asking you.
You have not finished building, and you neither have a degree. You are neither educated, neither do you have a home. What has derailed you? A good thing that was not planned for. Along the way, your friend tells you, I'm getting married. Suddenly, you are also looking for money to take Lobola. Sir, did you plan for this? So, it is important to remain on course. I'll tell you one thing, my pastor, that God has helped me with. It is our ability to celebrate others and not be tempted to imitate them. I'll look at you with your nice car and say, congratulations, this is wonderful.
It's a beautiful machine.
Beautiful machine. And not be moved that I start running around looking for a loan so that when we meet next week, even me, I'm in a beautiful car.
Let me be content with my
with my plan. I'll meet you graduating. I'll come to your graduation and say, congratulations, this is wonderful. But that will not tempt me to register the following week. Unless if registration the following week is part of my plan. So as we are getting in 2025, remain on course. This is what the devil tried to do with Jesus. Didn't he present the nice things to him? Told him, worship me. I'll give you this whole thing. Jesus said, that's not part of the plan. Sounds nice, but not part of the plan. No, do this and this. Sounds nice, but not part of the plan. Miles Monroe, I think it is him, he says, many people, I'm paraphrasing, have ended themselves in misery by this statement, let us. And that is one of the things that keeps people off their plans. Somebody will come and say, well, let us go and buy land. Good suggestion. Question, is it part of the plan? Let us do this. Good. Question, is it part of the plan? If it is no, stick with your plan. Challenges are going to come. What do you do with challenges? I should mention that if you are not facing challenges in your life, it is a danger. Maybe the Lord wants to rest you. Because it is only the dead that have no challenges. Anyone doing significant stuff will be faced with challenges. One of the laws of motion, which are Newton's laws of motion, talks about friction. Wherever there is movement, there will be an opposing force, which is called friction. If there is no friction in your life, it is a symptom that there is no movement.
I hear you, Doc.
Yes. Because where there's movement, there's friction. And where there's friction, there's heat. Heat is generated.
Yeah.
So if you are moving in your life, expect friction. It should actually motivate you. That is why I'm rarely disturbed by opposition. It's a sign I'm moving.
Yeah.
When I see no one somebody who is not opposed, I don't wish for a life that has no opposition. It is a sign that what you are doing is so insignificant.
It's reaching to someone,
It
and
is so
now they are
insignificant that no one minds. Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
So challenges will come. Be resilient in the challenges. Resilience comes by a number of ways. Number one, challenges become easier the more competent you become. Whichever challenge you face, to solve it, it will require one, a mindset, which requires knowledge. Two, it will require a skill set. Three, it will require resources, which are the things you have around yourself. So whenever you face a challenge, look at those things. What is lacking here? Is it knowledge? Is it skill? Or is it resources?
Now, I'm loving the fact that you have brought in the aspect of knowledge, and we are ending on this note, Doc. I know you are here on Wednesday as well as Friday. We are discussing other things that will help us well, pretty much start the year and stay on course. But today, we wanted to know how we can still plan and then remain with our plans for the year throughout, irregardless of the challenges that we are facing in life. But you talked about the issues of education, very, very important here, and I want you to speak to that effect. I did mention to you prior to us being on set that I have seen a number of times that we've planned, and after planning, self-motivation, we now begin to rely on the serendipity that you did mention, and only because we have nothing that keeps us along.
That's true.
I want you to really speak to, not that I want you to blow your own trumpet. I don't want you to blow Dr. Siatwambo's trumpet. I'm planning that, yeah, that one of the programs, Dr. Siatwambo will come here.
Please.
And a number of other motivational speakers that we have around here. I really don't call you people motivational speakers, and here is why. You are merely placed in our way to aid us along the way.
That's true.
And this that we are doing here is part of that.
That's true.
People have not even paid for this, by the way. That's fine. So now, the issue of education becomes very important. Let's talk about books. Let's talk about motivational gatherings. You recently, I'll keep talking about the next. And here is why I talk about the next. Ever since I attended that meeting that day, I know I was a director of program, but trust me, everything that was said there, I picked something that keeps telling me, Bright, order your life, put your life together, and I will tell you, after that event, I'm no longer the same. It's a testimony that I'm giving you. Now, majority of us refuse. When you hear Dr. Kabani is planning an education expo, National Education Expo, we haven't seen results from that. That man is just making money. I am looking at the 150 kwacha that I paid as an individual. Then you say, no, those guys are just eating our money. But it's 150 that you only finished on bundles.
That's true.
Let's talk books. Let's talk some of these meetings that you people hold in this country and beyond. There are a number of great motivational speakers. I'll speak to your friend Dumisani, who holds Africa Must Think, and people are saying Hero Stadium is just eating money and all that. But at the end of the day, I am thinking, Dr. Kabani, that for me to stay within what I planned for the year is to get revived. I mean, even in church, we do revival weeks of prayer, crusades and all that. Because we know, wow, the motivation was at the start of the year, I'm going to remain committed to my God. Chances of sleeping along the way are there. But then if there is a revival week of prayer, Dr. Kabani is a preacher, you are gifted. And then he is preaching, my spirit is rejuvenated. And then I'll stay on course. 2 weeks down the line, I thought another powerful preacher is coming for another series of meetings, and I stay rejuvenated. Now, what would you recommend in terms
Yes.
of book resources or
Yes.
tools for goal setting and how to so that we achieve this success.
Great, my pastor. Great conversation. Well, let me begin with books, probably. Actually, majority of the stuff that I think we had a conversation even before the show.
Yeah.
Majority of what I'm sharing is in this book in chapter 9. A
Of which
guide
I'm
to
upset
personal
with you
development.
because I don't have a copy.
A guide to personal development. Chapter 9 just talks about planning. Okay? That is actually what is in here. So, about books, I should mention that I am yet to meet a great person that has a small library. Every great person that I know, well, I may not have very great friends in far-fetched places, but let me bring it home. Every one of the great people that I know, that I have visited, have a library. Actually, one of the things that often stand out in the house of every great person is a library. Almost in anything you pick. If you're going to go and look at professional people, the guys who are topping the professional and executive ladders, the bank MDs, the CEOs, visit them. You're going to realize that in their sitting room, there is a library of books somewhere.
I'm getting excited.
Yes, there is any person who has a great library is on their way to greatness. Because the distinctive factor between the rich and the poor is mindset. And nothing changes mindset more than books. The distinction between the rich and the poor is information and knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a knowledge gap. Nothing beats that. So in all your investment, invest in books. I have written 4 books. I have more than 1,000 books in my library. Now that's not symbolic. That's actual books.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I was by the Baptist library here. They have a bookshop. And I bought 4 books. Yesterday, I have them in my car right now.
The question is, why spend money on books? That's what we ask.
Exactly. And people don't understand that it is this knowledge that makes Daniel Kabani to be contracted by companies and for him to go and speak there for an hour on issues that are now technical, and they'll pay him 100,000 kwacha. They'll pay him 150,000 kwacha.
And then
Now,
I position
know that,
myself to ask from Kabani.
and you know, my pastor, I know that these figures sound far-fetched to
Yeah.
people that may not have exposure.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, be an expert. It will shock you how much people can pay for expert knowledge. So acquire books. Number 2, YouTube is a resource now.
Okay.
If you love free things, you don't want to buy books, go on YouTube. Only that it's a
not
mixed
free.
market.
Yeah. But it's not even free. You
Yes.
spend bundles.
There is a lot there.
Yeah.
A lot of experts that are giving free content. Go and watch free content.
Yeah.
There are learning platforms now where you can help yourself. Most popular of them are such as Coursera. Coursera, many free courses from leading universities across the world. Number 2, Udemy is another one you can go and check on. Free courses by powerful people. Third one, Allison. Loaded stuff with it. Then I'll come to conferences and trainings. If you can, attend them.
Yeah.
One of the things that had a great impact on me was a conference in 2009 by Dr. Samuel Quarantine Pimpin, right at Evelyn Horn here. When that man spoke, my mind opened.
Yeah.
And since that day, I've never been the same. Now, I know people who had those arguments in 2009. Now, I want to use my life as an example.
Yeah.
Yes, so that it is not far-fetched. Okay? In 2009, when I was attending those conferences for Dr. Pimpim, we had people who had similar arguments. To say, there, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Well, let's benchmark our lives. Those of us who attended against those who didn't attend.
Right.
Where are we today?
Worlds apart.
These conferences that people say that people make money, whenever I chat with my friends, we laugh about that.
Yeah.
Pastor, the National Education Expo, by the way, you did a brilliant job and you are the director for 2025.
Amen.
I should mention this right on camera.
Amen.
Now, just winding on that, when we sit with friends, we laugh. The National Education Expo, if you look at that event, booking that venue, which is Mulungushi, is 80,000 kwacha. There are people who normally think that booking that venue is a 2,000, like a kitchen party. Booking Heroes Stadium is 180,000 kwacha, just the venue. That stage you see mounted like at Heroes, which Dumi would mount or what we mount there. That stage alone is 150,000 kwacha. The two of them is 300,000 kwacha. For us who brought international speakers from the US, from South Africa, factor in their flight tickets, factor in their accommodation feeding in hotel, their feeding, and all
their
these
appreciation.
Yes. Then somebody brings a 150 and thinks you are eating their money. So attend these things, they'll change your life.
Wow.
Please.
That's very important. And really, for me, it's the motivation that will guide you along the way. And you say, oh, I had planned in January, but I had forgotten about this. So I attended the next, and I've been reminded to say I need to move in that direction, and I remain rejuvenated over time. Dr. Kabani, we are not done with you. It's just for today, but we are back on Wednesday, and we'll spend more time with you as we keep learning. But also, we want to wish DNK Group of Companies the very best for the year 2025. Trust me, we are a bit stubborn. We'll knock and keep knocking until one day you tell us, hey guys, it's too much of you. But we truly appreciate the fact that you accepted our invitation to be on this program.
It's always a blessing to be here. God bless you for the work you are doing, and I always feel privileged to be here with you.
Amen. Well, we end here for today. We tentatively wanted this to be a discussion, as it were, but just in case you have a personal question, you are asking Dr. Daniel Kabani. He is here on Wednesday. He is here on Friday. So you can send them through to our text line 0976151517, and I'll definitely share them with him. And in the 2 sessions coming, he might just be able to give a response or two to some of the questions. For today, we end here. We are back on Wednesday at exactly 12:30. The program begins, and Dr. Kabani is one of our guests. But also, I'm excited because we are bringing into the studio on Wednesday a couple. Recently word that, well, they have something that they have to share with us, and I can't just wait to have you listen to their story. From all of us in the studio and transmission, it's God bless and keep watching Hope Channel Zambia, media that changes lives.